In May of 2012, we got a phone call from two metal detectorists who think they'd found something quite special. Normally metal detectorists find small items of buttons and coins, but this was supposed to be something else. Normally we're a little bit sceptical, but they used the words gold and silver, so we went and investigated. When we arrived, there was the two finders and the landowner standing next to a car boot, looking very nervous indeed. They took us over to the boot of their car, lifted it up, and in there, in the trays, lined in newspaper, was the gold pommel and parts of the Viking necklace and other bits of silverwork, and we just looked at each other like, this is the real deal. Because it was high risk, we did have to get this material out relatively quickly, but in such a way as that we kept the information of how it was put into the ground. I decided to excavate a 1 metre by 1 metre trench. The metal detectorists had removed the jewellery from the very top part of it, so I made a trench around it and dug down a lot deeper so I could get all of the remaining material that may have been underneath it. What I found was a few bottom parts of the jewellery, including some other halves of the material that had already been dug out by the detectorists. As I was excavating down through the individual layers, we found all this silverwork contained in a very square box together at the bottom. And you could just see the cable of one of the bracelets on there, and we just kept going. It was fantastic.
Once the hoard had arrived in the lab, the first thing that we needed to do was wash the outer soil off. So we started removing it just using small hand tools. These we used to just gradually pick off the deposits. And once we did that, that's at the point where you start finding all the information that were hidden by those deposits. So the inscribed crosses that we found on 2 or 3 of these ingots. And the nick mark up the side where in the past somebody's gone along and tested the purity of the silver. Composite objects are always quite difficult to work on. It was covered in a big thick crust, similar really to what's still on guard here. So you couldn't see the gold decoration, there were just spots of it showing through, so you knew it was there. The other items that were in the hoard were 4 gold rings. There wasn't an awful lot of evidence of the material that it had been round, but what we did find was little tiny flakes of the gold that had lifted, where presumably it got damaged slightly being pulled off the handle. It's not very often that we get a hoard through of this quality, and it's been a good experience finding out the best ways to clean it and bring it to a standard that would look nice on display.
When we got this material back from conservation, the difference is unbelievable. Seeing this material that I'd found that was encrusted and brown and covered in dirt, actually when it's been cleaned up and it's bright and it's silvery and it's gold and it's how it's meant to be seen, it's great.
Conservation and cleaning of the hoard has revealed some incredible insight into these objects, and now that they're clean we can really start to tell their stories. One of the standout pieces of the hoard is this sword pommel. It's iron and it has these beautiful, intricately decorated gold plaques on it. The style that you can see here is called true hiddle, which is an Anglo-Saxon style, but we've never ever seen it before on gold, normally silver or metal. This is the oldest item in the hoard, and it came with some other gold pieces, some hilt bands that would have been on the handle of the sword. Perhaps the biggest and most ostentatious piece in the hoard is this incredible neck ring or neck collar. It's made of silver, almost pure, and you can see that it comprises of 4 separate strands that have been twisted together and hammered at the end. It's incredibly heavy, and to have worn this around your neck, you would have been showing your status, you would have shown your wealth and your position to anybody that saw it. So this is a Yorkshire fashion, a Yorkshire variant on a Viking style that's never been seen before. Also found within the hoard are these ingots. An ingot are quite typical things that you would find in a Viking hoard. They're representative of bullion, a bullion economy. So these would be chopped up and used by people in transactions when they wanted to pay for things. What's really exciting about the cleaning of the hoard is that it's revealed on 3 of the ingots these crosses. And that hints that somebody has put a Christian mark onto these crosses. So we're talking about a hoard that's not just representative of wealth, but also reflects perhaps the beliefs of the person who owned it. What's amazing about this hoard is that it represents the extent and the far reaches of the Viking world. Quite exciting is this twisted Permian neck ring. And this design, unlike the other Scandinavian jewellery, is a simple silver rod that's then been incised with grooves. This is actually a design that begins or originates in northern Russia. We also have a lot of Irish influence represented in objects from the hoard. This chunky arm ring that we have, again, almost a solid silver band with this punch decoration. This is a really typical design, but this comes from Ireland. So that gives you a hint at just how far the spread of influence of the Vikings and how far some of the ideas and influences in these objects have travelled. Also from Viking Island is this penannular bossed brooch. It's called a bossed brooch because it has these wonderful little circular bosses. So all these pieces and the other pieces in the hoard combined really make for an exciting, significant set of Viking material. This all comes from the most northerly part of Yorkshire that Viking material's ever been found before. So we know a little bit about this hoard already. There's tons more that we're going to find out as research continues. So watch this space.